morning. It is Monday morning motivation with Chris cooking Nashville and the beautiful Ash Taylor. If you guys are
Hello.
new to the channel, please say hello in the chat. Let us know you are here. We appreciate all of you guys tuning in. If you don't know who I am, if you're brand new, I'm a proper human diet chef and recipe creator, and somewhere along the way turned semi-health influencer, I guess, here. We do not give medical advice. I am not a doctor. I am not in a doctor or healthcare provider and patient relationship with any of you, so everything that I say is meant to be educational and entertaining, and hopefully will give you something to think about so that you can advocate for yourself. Make sure to consult a physician of some type before you decide to do anything in your own life. But my beautiful wife over here, Ash Taylor, is an amazing country artist, and I get to tour around the country with her playing guitar for her, so
Yeah.
we get to do all that together. Go to ashtaylor.com if you'd like to learn more about all of what she does musically. But
Well, thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
yeah, so we have a really big topic today,
Mm-hmm.
and I've put a lot of time, I think, into kind of laying this out so that I can try to explain what it is we're talking about here. So we're going to say hello to some folks after I've kind of gone through the beginning of what I'm talking about here. So please put your comments in the chat and we will come around to them. Just be patient with me.
And if you guys, really quick, if you guys can see us and hear us okay and
Yep.
everything's good,
Let us
just
know.
comment just so before Chris starts teaching this morning, preaching, as we like to say.
Before I start meat preaching.
Meat preaching, yes.
yep.
Just make sure everyone can see and hear us.
That's
all right.
That's right. Well, just let us know, and we will go back into the chat as we get around to that after I've told you guys what we're talking about. But before we dive into this, I have to give a big shout out to Janelle, who you guys will see in the chat. She is one of our rock star moderators, and she is here, and she is not only moderating and keeping this really fantastic force in the chat, she is also a member of our band, which is our private community where we do extra things behind the scenes. We're going to be doing some private live streams. I've got extra recipes coming for them. In fact, I'm going to be releasing a couple of ideas for the Keto Jam that I just did. A couple of special ideas for band members. That's going to be coming out, a little post for them with some other ideas. So we do a bunch of really cool stuff in the band. So you can go to the description box down below. There is a link to join the band. You guys should totally come join because it is an amazing and supportive group where we do a lot of really cool stuff to help people on this journey. But I mentioned that Janelle is in the band because she put up a post, which was the inspiration for me to go do the research to put together this live stream. So Janelle, thank you for the incredible just outpouring of knowledge and thought-provoking commentary that you created for us all in the band, and I decided that was so great that I thought more people needed to hear about this. So I kind of took what you did and I tagged on my own bits of things and put this together. So major shout out to Janelle because she's really the one that inspired today's live stream, and I think this is going to help a lot of people. So the title of this is The Packaged Food Lie, Time to Take Back Your Power. What am I talking about? So as I'm asking these questions and as we're saying these things, I would love for you guys to drop your answers into the chat and we will come around and take a look at them. But you putting stuff in the chat is also going to hopefully be inspiring to other people seeing this. So even though I'm kind of talking here, please put your answers in the chat and let us know what you think about these things as we go along. So first of all, have any of you, I want you to put it in the chat, have you walked into a grocery store planning to eat clean, planning to eat healthy, planning to do all of the things the right way, right?
Yeah.
The right way, whatever that means, okay? And you walk out with a cart full of junk. Has that happened to any of you? It certainly has happened to me.
Yep.
Many, many times. It has happened to me a bunch. We have talked the last couple of weeks about the addiction side of food and these sorts of things. And so this kind of riffing off of that, I want you guys to know if that has happened to you, it's not your fault. Okay? As Dr. Barry would say, it's not your fault, but it is your problem. It's not your fault. You've been played. And we're going to talk about how you've been played. Okay? And there was this really interesting thing that I wrote down that I think is a really good quote. And I apologize if I'm looking down. I've got some notes here to make sure I stay on track today. So they didn't just make food convenient.
Mm-hmm.
They made it addictive. And then blamed you when your health started falling apart. Think about that. They blamed you when your health started falling apart because you were eating the addictive foods they created. And we're going to talk about just how intentional that has been here in a minute. So essentially, this live stream is a wake-up call for you guys. It is time to take your food and your life back from them. Okay, and we're going to talk about who them is, but this live stream is meant to be a wake-up call to anyone who is watching this to say, it is time to take your food and your life back. That's what we're talking about, and that's why we're doing this. Okay, so let's talk about this convenience food takeover. And this is what Janelle was talking about that inspired me to kind of put this whole thing together, because she was sharing this information. And I kind of knew this nebulously, but I really didn't have it ironed out in like a I could explain it to someone format. And so when Janelle put that together, it really meant a lot for me to be able to sit there and kind of see this with that information. That's why what she did was so impactful, I think. And so I kind of put this together into an interesting little thing here. So back in the 1910s and 1920s, okay, so we're going way, way back, 1910s and 1920s, the Industrial Revolution meets food manufacturing, okay? In 1911, Crisco was introduced by Procter & Gamble, okay?
Interesting.
Crisco, the first seed oil, industrial seed oil product. Crisco was introduced, okay? Do you guys know that prior to that, things like seed oils were used, they were very small amounts of things, and the only thing that that type of an oil was used for was an engine lubricant. Wasn't a food. Okay, so in 1911, Procter & Gamble introduced Crisco as the first industrial seed oil product. It was marketed as being shelf stable, cheap, and a, quote, modern replacement for lard and butter, which was the major fat sources that were cooked with up until that point. So everyone was eating lard and butter as their fat source, and then Crisco comes around in 1911, and it is marketed as the modern replacement. And it's cheap, and it's stable, and it's supposed to be good for you, and all these kinds of things, okay? Now, if you guys recognize that, depending on how good your history is, if you recognize that time frame, you would also know that World War I was between 1914 and 1918. So this is right before World War I that Crisco is introduced. Okay, well, what about World War I was then so impactful? And you kind of have to see the domino effect that happens here. So 1914 to 1918 is World War I. Armies needed food that could survive long transport, resist spoilage, and be easily prepared in the field on the front lines, okay? So World War I was the first time that we started introducing these foods, because this led to a major investment in canning, dehydration, and vacuum sealing technology, because we needed food to transport overseas for all of the armies fighting in World War I. Okay, so this was military innovation, and what happened is it changed the civilian market as well. Canned meats like the Spam precursors, hardtack biscuits, dried milk, powdered eggs, all of these things were part of the rations that were being sent to soldiers overseas in World War I. And of course, the military, having the ability to have technology before anybody else, had the most up-to-date and cutting-edge technology to do these things. To meet demand, food manufacturers scaled up and standardized mass production. Okay, this laid the foundation for the post-war convenience food boom. So after World War I, these companies had developed all of this mass production technology with the military behind them to get rations overseas to our soldiers. Well, now they're left with all of this technology and all of this mass production capability. What do you do with that? When you're a company who's trying to make money in an economy you're trying to rebuild, what do you do with it?
Right.
You start selling to consumers, right? That's what happens. So this caused a post-war consumer shift. After the war, many of the companies who had produced the military rations pivoted to the consumer market. And there was a thing that was said regularly, and this was a marketing strategy to use. Very, very smart marketing here. And the quote is, "If it fed our boys overseas, it's good enough for the family dinner table."
Wow.
So patriotism was being used to market mass-produced, packaged convenience food products for the family dinner table to shift from supporting soldiers to making money in a brand new kind of economy post-World War One. Okay? This became an implicit marketing strategy, and it ushered in the early wave of packaged products appearing in American homes by the 1920s and 1930s. Okay? So that started this whole concept of these packaged products, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, in 1928, so the 1920s to the 1930s is when we start getting packaged food products. In 1928, sliced bread was invented. Pre-sliced Wonder Bread hit shelves for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so in 1928, have you guys ever heard the phrase, "This is the best thing since sliced bread"?
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about this, that phrase exists because there was a time when pre-sliced bread didn't exist. You didn't go to the store to buy bread in a bag that had been sliced up. You made bread at home. Okay? Now, this is something that Janelle actually in her post was talking about, and this was actually kind of the angle her post came from. So I want to include a mention of this. Around this same time, right? We have the Industrial Revolution. You had a massive shift of people moving from more countryside and rural areas into the cities, right? Cities were growing because the Industrial Revolution started to grow these cities around factories and around industrial jobs. So what happened when people moved out of the countryside into the cities? Well, you have people in a lot closer quarters, and because they didn't have the money to afford large amounts of space, many people ended up living in these apartment buildings where they either didn't have a kitchen, or if they did, it was this tiny little thing and they didn't have the ability to make most of their own foods. So if you have all of these people, especially ones that are now working in all of these factories, which are mass producing food that needs to be sent overseas to the soldiers,
Right.
and then eventually to American families as a marketing ploy, well, now you have all of these people who not only are working on creating these convenience foods, they don't even have a kitchen to make their own stuff, so they need convenience foods. They need pre-made things. So they would go places where bakeries were starting to mass produce bread. This is what led to the pre-sliced bread thing, right? They were starting to buy things like pre-made and pre-sliced bread instead of making their own. They started, and this was the point Janelle made that was interesting, these companies started doing not just bread, but also things like pastries and treats and candies and, what we would now start considering junk food. And what did people start to do? They started to taste these things that were sweet. And they started to choose sweet pastries and candies and treats over nutritious foods like meat and eggs and lard and butter and cream and these kinds of things. They started eating sugar and carbohydrates instead of eating fats and proteins because they're addictive. Of course they started doing that. It was the first time these things had been so easily accessible, mass-produced, ready to go, pick it up and eat it, available to them for the first time. And it was seen not only as something that was easy, but it was also sometimes marketed as something that was good for you. There's marketing from back in like the 20s and 30s talking about how sugar is good for you. And there's actually times in, I believe it was around in the 1950s, where they talked about how sugar would actually suppress your appetite so you could like be healthier.
Wow.
Right? Now we know that's not true, but at the time this was brand new and this was all marketing that was being done. Okay, so people have moved into the cities. They have a need for convenience foods because they can't produce any of their own food. They don't go to like a farm and, purchase things or grow their own stuff or collect their own stuff. They're not making their own meats. They're not making their own products. They're doing all of this stuff, living this new industrial revolution lifestyle where they're eating convenience foods that are filled with sugar, and they're starting to pick sugar and carbs over meat and eggs and proteins and fats. Okay? So, in 1928, the pre-sliced bread is the Wonder Bread, hits the shelves, it's introduced, and a mass adoption of white refined carbohydrates begins. Okay, so think about all of those white refined carbs we're talking about. The breads, the pastas, the rices, the sugars. This is where it all starts. Now, continue on 1940s to 1950s. What happened in the 1940s that was significant? World War II.
Yeah.
Right? So now food rations become even more important because now we're in the next World War. And we have more soldiers overseas that we have to send food rations to. Something else really important also happened here. Women started entering the workplace. Because men were overseas fighting, women started going into the workplace. Remember the whole Rosie the Riveter thing?
Yeah.
Right. Women started jumping in and doing all of this industrial work because the men who had been working in the industrial age that were doing all the factory work, they all got shipped overseas to go fight with the Allies.
Yeah.
So here we are, women are now stepping into the workforce, and traditionally, and this is not a commentary on men versus women in the home, that's a completely different subject and one we're not going to touch with a 10-foot pole. But regardless of our beliefs about that, at this point in time, women were generally the cooks and the homemakers.
Yeah.
Culturally, that is what was going on. So women step out of the home, they go into the workforce for the first time. Who is cooking the food for the kids?
Good question, isn't it?
If women are already working, they don't have near as much time to be at home creating these things. We've already got all of these pre-packaged foods that are convenient. Now there's even a more need for it because women are in factories all day creating all of the things that we need to fight the war. So it puts more pressure on there being convenience food. So we get out of World War II. All right, and in the 1950s, the rise of TV dinners in 1953 begins. Swanson. We all know that name, right?
Yeah.
Swanson frozen TV dinners.
Yeah.
This starts becoming a really popular thing. Why? Women stepped out of the home and into the workplace. They started relying on more convenience foods because they needed to, because we had other things going on. World War II, right? It was kind of a big deal. We had other things going on. And a lot of men didn't ever come back from that. So women were still trying to provide for their families. So convenience foods became really important. And by 1953, when Swanson starts really seeing this rise in his popularity, these TV dinners they're releasing, the culture is set up for people to fall in love with the idea of convenience foods. All right? Simultaneously, in 1947, Betty Crocker started marketing their pre-made cake mixes, and they used emotion, not nutrition, to market their cake mixes. So now you're starting to see between the cake mixes and the TV dinners, it's convenient, and they're using the emotion of women who wanted to provide nice things for their families right after World War II, where we've all been through a lot of crap. They're using the emotion of feeding your families and making them happy and giving them things they want, and this makes your life easier, to market things like pre-made cake mixes, TV dinners, all of this stuff which is pre-packaged carb-filled junk. And of course, they're not using massive amounts of fat and proteins in any of these things because guess what? That stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
And it was not easy to make any of those things shelf stable. Interestingly enough, there was actually a cake mix Betty Crocker released where the only thing you had to do was add water. They actually included the egg in it. All you had to do was add water, and it didn't sell very well. So do you know what they did to change the marketing? They took the egg out of it and said, this is a pre-made mix. All you have to do is add an egg and then eventually some oil. and you add water and you mix it up. And because it actually was a little bit more work, it was a minor amount of work, but it was a little more work, and then they attached the emotional marketing to it, it made women feel invested in making that cake like they had done something for their family, but it was way more convenient than having to do it all themselves from scratch.
Yeah.
So suddenly making things like desserts happened like that. Okay? So they marketed the cake mixes and the TV dinners, and this all takes off. This processed food then becomes marketed as the equivalent of American progress. So we are moving out of the old ways of doing things into a new progress-based America where post-World War I and World War II and everything is convenient and quick. And this is the modern family that eats all of this processed food. Okay? So this really interesting quote came up as I was researching this. They didn't sell food. They sold identity, convenience, and freedom from the kitchen. But it was at the cost of your health.
Yeah.
So what they did was market this idea that, well, you shouldn't have to be stuck in the kitchen. You shouldn't have to put in all of this work. Let us take care of it for you. This is progress. This is a new America. This is a modern family. Do you know how many people comment on my channel that they want all of my recipes packaged because they don't have time to cook?
Or they say it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
This is so hard. This is, all these things. And I understand what you're saying, but this is literally, Dr. Berry talks about the echo of the lie. This is literally an echo of the lie from the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah.
We are still telling ourselves the same lie for convenience from the 1950s.
Speaking of Dr. Berry, he's in the house.
Oh, Dr. Berry, what's going on?
Watching on Facebook says,
I love it.
Packaged ultra-processed foods equal chronic disease.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's exactly what's going on here. So the purpose of all of this stuff they were doing is just like Dr. Berry just said, that the packaged ultra-processed foods equals the chronic disease because these things are addictive. So let's talk about the science of the addiction here. Okay? In the 1970s, now this is what Dr. Berry is talking about with these ultra-processed foods. In the 1970s, they invented this idea in food called the bliss point. Do you know what the bliss point is?
No.
Okay, so the bliss point was invented by food scientist Howard Moskowitz. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. And it was to find the perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat in combination that makes you crave more of it. Food became engineered dopamine. It's not nourishment anymore. It's a dopamine hit. It is literally a drug in a box that you can eat. And it was engineered to hit the bliss point with the perfect ratios of fat, salt, and sugar to make your brain light up so you wanted more. This is the beginning of food companies using addictive food ratios to make you crave more and more and more so they can get more and more and more sales. Because now by this point, we're 30 years into doing this, 20 to 30 years into doing this, and food companies are like, we can make a lot of money.
Right.
But how do we get people to buy more? Because if they don't buy more and more and more and more and more, we don't make money more and more and more and more and more. We don't want it to be nutritious. We want it to be addictive because the more addictive it is, the more money we make. Okay. Artificial flavors, colors, MSG, emulsifiers, all of this stimulates hunger and it overrides your fullness. This is the thing that's so interesting about this. Companies hired neuroscientists, not nutritionists. So companies making these packaged food products didn't hire people to say nutritionally, here's what should be in our food. They hired neuroscientists to say, well, if you want to light up the brain, this is what should be in the food. You want to talk about legalized drug dealers? This is what this is. They learned how to override biology so that they could profit.
Yeah.
Does this sound familiar to you guys when you eat things like, those potato chips? Bet you can't eat just one.
Brian Flyer Fisherman Dish literally just said that.
Exactly.
It's true. Well, that's what you just can't eat one.
You can't just eat one because it is a combination. Think about what is a Lay's potato chip. So the potato chip is pure carbohydrate because it's a potato. Mm-hmm. They fry it in a seed oil, so it's a fat, and it's a hyper-inflammatory, addictive fat at that, and it's covered in salt.
Yeah.
So it's salt, sugar, and fat. And they're using things like MSG to make it even more explosive. MSG is a natural thing that exists in things. But when you concentrate it down and you create a massive amount of it in something like a potato chip, it lights your brain up in a completely unnatural way. And you want more and more and more. And you have the right ratios to hit the bliss point. And so they find that bliss point, and I mean, they just pound on it. And you want more. You want bag after bag after bag. Ask me how I know. I'm a binge eater. I didn't get to be 400 pounds by accident. These companies made that happen. Okay? So let's think about what this actually did to us, though. Obesity more than doubled since 1980.
Wow.
So think about this. In the 1970s, we start hitting the bliss point. And starting in 1980, obesity starts to go on the rise. So we're using inflammatory seed oils. We're using engineered prepackaged food products. We have neuroscientists hitting the bliss point and using chemicals and MSGs and emulsifiers and food dyes and all of these other things to make this stuff more and more addictive. And what starts to happen? You see the rise in obesity. Type 2 diabetes in kids used to be completely unheard of, and now it's common.
Wow.
Type 2 diabetes in children is common because of this. Autoimmune disease rates are exploding. We have chronic fatigue. We have depression and anxiety. We are the most overfed and undernourished population in human history. Because we are feeding a bliss point and not our bodies. Big food got rich, big pharma got richer, and we got sick because of all of this. So, the question is, what do we do about this? And this is where Being Chris Cooking Nashville comes in, and this is where Dr. Barry comes in, and this is where the people in the space that we love, that we appreciate, that we value so much, this is where we all come in because we are fighting the fight. And when you guys are watching what we do and you share what we do, you comment on our stuff, you come join the private community, you join Dr. Barry's private group, wherever it is you go to support this, you tell your friends, you tell your neighbors, you change your family by doing these things. This is where you all come in. We are fighting this fight. So what do? We eat with no labels, no barcodes, no confusion, just real food our body recognizes. Okay? I try to use as few products as I possibly can. There are a few things that I do buy that are products at the store because we do not live in a society where this is all perfect and always easy to do. And some of the stuff that I make, I do use products because I'm creating foods that are transition foods to help people wake up to this, because you can't just slap people in the face with this information and expect them to take that well. That does not, ask me how I know, it does not go well. But if we can give people options so that we can start moving in a better direction and they can step by step get off the junk and start to recognize what's happening, they can be opened their eyes to this, right? They can have their eyes opened. They can start to see this. We're trying to offer hope here. Keto removes sugar, balances the blood sugar, it fuels the body with fat, and then if you want to go all the way to carnivore, that starts to rebuild with nutrient density, simplicity, and it gives you this incredible gut healing, which is so important, because what have we been doing? Ruining our bodies, ruining our gut biome, all of this with seed oils, with sugar, with junk, with chemicals and dyes and processed stuff. And the thing is, the amount of that stuff that is in the food now is way worse than it was in the 1970s and 1980s. I mean, it's gotten so out of control at this point. It's like, I mean, look at the stuff with like the Maha movement, and this is not about politics. When you look at what's actually happening there. Whether you agree or disagree with any of the political side of it is irrelevant. The point of that, though, is look at what's going on where it's like they're starting to say, no, we're not okay with all of this junk, all of these dyes and chemicals and preservatives and extra sugars and MSGs and emulsifiers and everything added into the food. And they're starting to tell companies, you're going to take this out of there because we're going to outlaw it. America is one of the last places in the world where most of this stuff can even be legally used.
Yeah.
So if they start doing this and then companies are like, what are we going to do? Well, why don't you do the same thing here that you do all else around the world?
Mm-hmm.
But companies are shaking from this because guess what? They have so much junk hidden in our food that they're like, it's going to take a complete overhaul of everything we do. And if we don't figure out how to do this, we're going to lose billions and billions of dollars. They're screwing people over for money. Mm. They have been for a long time. That's why this is so important. So when we go keto, we take all the junk out. Maybe we go all the way to carnivore, and you start healing all of these things. Suddenly you wake up to what's been happening to your body, many of us since we were born. And companies are starting to shake because they're realizing this is not going away.
Yeah.
This is starting to become something people are finding out and recognizing what we're doing. People's eyes are being opened. Mm. These are not diets, they're revolutions against dependency. I'm going to say that again. These are not diets, they're lifestyles. But more importantly, they are revolutions against dependency. Mm. That's a really important thing because the whole thing that was marketed to us was that you got freedom from your kitchen. You were imprisoned under the guise of freedom.
Wow.
So what do we do about this? Well, I'm here to tell you guys, cooking is the cure. This is why I do what I do, right? It all comes back to food. Ash and I have talked about this. We go to things like low-carb events. Mm-hmm. You watch someone like Dr. Barry and his medical information and the videos that he has from his experience as a doctor. You watch the keto and carnivore influencers that are cooking or they're talking about, their N=1 experiments or any of these different things. You see what's happening at the government level. You see companies that are trying to figure out how to jump on board with this whole keto carnivore marketing, right? Because even if they're not doing it the right way, they're trying to figure out how to use those labels because they see movement starting to happen. What is all of it about? It all comes back to food and the health that food does or does not create. All of it. Every last bit of it. This is why I'm so passionate about what I do. My job in the space is to teach people to take back their freedom by cooking. Mm. Dr. Barry teaches them the medical issues that are happening, what that's all related to, so they can go advocate for their own health and they can make a choice about the ingredients they put in their body to fix their problem. Mm-hmm. I teach you how to go in the kitchen and take that knowledge and turn it into food. And specifically, I do it in a way where I'm creating recipes that look like foods we've all been so used to for the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 decades. Mm. So that when you start to do this, you can fight against your brain's tendency to crave all of the other stuff or the weirdness. Like, we are not just fighting this idea of change what you're putting in your mouth. We're fighting against the culture and the marketing of big food and big pharma that's been going on since the 1930s. Mm-hmm. You cannot do that by just throwing a piece of steak at somebody and saying, just get over it. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, you can't. Right? Some people out there can do that and they can just totally give it all up because they see this, their eyes are open and they go, I'm never doing it again. That's fantastic and that's great. But the culture of food and cooking and feasting and all of these different things is built in our DNA from the dawn of time. Humans have always used food as a social and cultural thing. Mm-hmm. We need to still be able to do that because if you try to cut all of that out, you're cutting out part of what makes us human. Doesn't mean that it has to be complicated, but for some people it is. Mm. For some people, they want that stuff. And if you want to reach people, we have to have things like pasta noodles so that we can convince great aunt so-and-so that she can give up her pasta.
Yeah.
We need to have things like the keto jam that I just released on Saturday so that we can feed our kids a healthier version of peanut butter and jelly until we can get them transitioned over to the idea that they don't need peanut butter and jelly. But you want to make kids hate you? Take away everything that they think is good and tell them just eat a beef patty, you'll be all right.
They will hate you and
they will
resent
be
this way of
very, very angry, and they will resent what you're trying to teach them. So I'm trying to create tools to help people transition from one way of living to another. And this is really important, though, because cooking is the solution to all of these problems. Which is why when people say, oh, I wish you would just package your recipes so I could go to the store and buy them. No, I don't want to package my recipes. I'm not saying that if there wasn't an opportunity to do something like that, maybe I wouldn't in the short term, or that, we might be able to provide something. But I'll be honest, that's not easy. It's very difficult because it's expensive. It is so expensive to set up a business to do this, and you have to go through the marketing, and you have to work to get in a grocery store. There's so much red tape, and there's all of these things. Health and safety codes. There is so much that goes into creating a packaged product. Ask Chris Bear how easy it is to create a packaged product and sell it. I was talking to him about Salty, and I said something about doing like this kind of a flavor or that kind of a flavor, whatever. And he was like, I would love to be able to do that stuff. He goes, the difficult thing is if you have a flavor that doesn't work, or you're not sure if it's going to work and you want to test it out. And he's like, I have to order 500,000 packets to make it worth my while.
Yeah.
Think about it. That's just electrolytes. Think about if I'm going to do like meat noodles, the thing that I'd have to be prepared for. And not that I wouldn't do it if the opportunity's there, but it's not easy to do this stuff. And so the most immediate way that I can help you guys change your lives is teaching you to cook. Cooking is the solution. It's the most rebellious thing you can do in a society that profits off your food addiction. Cooking your own food is the most rebellious. I'm going to say this again. I want you to really hear me. Cooking is the most rebellious thing you can do in a society that profits off food addiction. Just think about that for a minute. Cooking is the most rebellious thing you can do in a society that profits off of food addiction. You control the ingredients. You decide what nourishes your body. And on top of it, cooking is ancestrally appropriate.
It is.
It is primal. It is powerful. We have been cooking our food for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Why? Because by doing so and breaking down all of these animal fats and proteins, we were able to access nutrition in a way that allowed our brains to become something way more. Why are we the most powerful species on the planet? Because our brains are more powerful than any of the others. The animal recipes that we create have helped us access fat and protein that has allowed us to do this with our brains, okay? So cooking is ancestral, primal, and powerful, and real food does not need a label. A steak is a steak. Butter is butter. And even when I take things like the few products that I use and turn them into a recipe, I can actually sit there and tell you, for the most part, pretty much everything that's in that, right? Like if I go, okay, this noodle that I'm making, this recipe where I'm making noodles, right? Like my chicken-based noodles.
Yeah.
What's in that? Chicken, dairy, eggs.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I see it, yeah.
So I'm just here to help you guys understand that cooking is the answer, not Chris Cooking Nashville creating a product line. Because here's the deal. I am not independently wealthy. I cannot afford to create a product line just of my own volition. Now, if I found the right investors and I had the right amount of control and I was able to work in the right situation, I wouldn't be against doing something like that. But it is not simple to do that kind of thing. It is very difficult because a lot of times you have investors that come on board who have a lot more money than you do. And what do investors want to see out of a product? Profit. How do you make something profitable? You use cheap ingredients that are addictive to get people to buy more and more, and you make it convenient. That is the way our food system has been set up starting all the way back in 1910. That is what we are fighting. So what do we do about that? Well, we stop buying products and we start cooking. And if you don't want to do the recipes because you're like, I don't want to do all the work, cool. Throw a steak in a skillet and put some butter on it, call it a day.
Ain't nothing wrong with
There's
that.
nothing wrong with that. But if you're struggling, and if you want some things that help you transition and stick to a lifestyle like this long term, that's where learning to cook like I do helps. Yeah. That's what I'm teaching you guys to do. That's why I do this. The more you cook, the more you win. The only people that profit from you cooking is you, your family, and whatever maybe small local rancher or whoever it is that has the chicken eggs nearby or whatever that you buy those things from. Or maybe you just raise all of it yourself. And then it's just you and your family that profit. Great. Small local businesses, ranchers, people that have things like chicken farms. These are the people that work to feed our country. If I'm going to give money to anyone, that's the people I want to give the money to. It is so difficult for beef and chicken farmers and pig farmers and all of these guys that do all this work. It is so hard for them to make a living doing this anymore because big companies have bought more and more and more of these farms out, and they make them jump through all these hoops. And I mean, they've tried to make the beef and the pork and the chicken and all of these other animal products as processed as they can. I just want to go out and support those kinds of people. Sure. I want to cook and I want to support those people, put that food on my family's plate and put our money into the pockets of the people who continue to deliver the things that make us healthy. If I'm going to go out and buy the food, that's the place that I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. That's where we do this. Cooking is the answer to this. Cooking is the battle armor and the weapon that we use to go and fight against this stuff. Find a local rancher. Find a local chicken farmer. Find something as best you can locally. And even if you can't find anything locally or you can't afford that kind of stuff, at least when you go to the grocery store, hit those outer aisles of low-carb produce, if that's something that you use, the meat section, and the eggs and the dairy. And all of that other junk that's in the store, don't get it. Don't go near it. Stay away from it. Don't put more money into the pockets of the people that own those companies. Mm. Frito-Lay does not need your money. Frito-Lay has abused your body to get as much of your money as possible. And if we put our foot down and say, absolutely not, we go home and we cook the meat, the eggs, some of the dairy, and the low-carb produce if you choose to include that. Hmm. Make those farms, make those cattle ranches, make those chicken farmers, make those people succeed. If you're going to spend your money anywhere, vote with your dollars and help those people succeed. So I have a call to action for you guys on this one. I don't normally do this kind of stuff, but I have a call to action. First of all, I want you to go cook a real food meal today. Unless you're fasting and you're not going to do that, that's fine. But I want you to cook a real meal today that has real ingredients. I want you to go on social media, wherever it is you go on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, I don't care. I want you to take a picture of that food and I want you to post it. Tag me, Chris Cooking Nashville, tag me, and I want you to put hashtag cook to reclaim. Cook to reclaim. Ash is dropping that in the comments for you guys. 2 O's.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I have to spell it right, though, first.
Yeah.
Go ahead, babe.
There you go. Cook to reclaim. I want you guys to go cook a real food meal today. Take a picture. Put it on social media and tag me. And add the hashtag cook to reclaim. And every time you post a picture of your real human food, do this. Because if we start doing this and we start showing people what we're doing, it starts the conversation with people who have no clue what you're doing or why you're doing that. They go, what does hashtag cook to reclaim mean?
Yeah.
Let's start telling these companies that have been abusing us by creating convenience foods, we're taking our power back from you. We don't need you anymore. Start doing that for me, please. I want you guys to go join the band if you need extra support for this kind of stuff. I want you to come be a part of the warrior group that we are putting together, because this is what we're doing. And we're going to be teaching you guys not just recipes, but also how do we talk to other people about this? How do we figure out how to push this forward? How do we work as a team to change other people's lives? I don't want you guys to just do this and change your own life, although I want you to do that. I want you to do this, and then I want you to come jump on the team with us, be a part of the band, and I want you to be a part of a group of warriors that goes out and saves other people's lives. We're trying to save people's lives here, and we can't do it without you. So please jump on board. Be a part of this. I don't want you to just know this stuff. I want you to do something about it. Because we can all sit here on social media, and I am absolutely guilty of this. So this is not a judgment. This is me speaking to myself and bringing you along. I don't want you to just know it. I want you to do something about it. We can all sit on social media and know this and feel good about ourselves because we know so much information. Great. If you don't go put it into practice, it's a shitload of good it does. Right? It just doesn't do any good unless you do something about it. I'm very guilty of this until the day that I finally got it and I finally said I'm going to do something about it. So we started changing our lives. Mm-hmm. We changed the way we ate. I started learning this, and it has not been just a totally linear journey. There's ups and downs. This is real life. But we fight against this and we work against this. And then I went and created a YouTube channel because Dr. Barry told me to. He actually didn't tell me to create a YouTube channel. He said, if you want to thank me, go tell somebody else about it. And I just took it to the absolute highest point that I could think of and just started my own channel. And then it ended up blowing up, and here we are. But I've dedicated now what I do every day for a living to helping people with this. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help people with this because Dr. Barry told me to. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate so much the fact that he saved our lives with his information. So I'm thanking him by taking my information and trying to save others. And I want you guys to do the same. Thank me, thank Dr. Barry, whoever, by doing this. Go make that meal, take a picture of it, put it on social media, tag me, Chris Cooking Nashville. I'm Chris Cooking Nashville on all the social medias. Tag me and put hashtag cook2reclaim. Let's go save some lives. Let's go help some people. Because if you can cook, you can fight back. If you can eat real food, you can heal. Mm. This is how we win.
Absolutely.
Okay? So I'm just going to pop this up for you guys. I just want you to kind of see visually what I'm talking about here. So this is kind of a zoomed out view of this. But this is the timeline of the packaged food history and the health decline, right? So here we are in the 1910s and 1920s, and this is when all of this stuff, the packaged food thing, starts beginning, right? We get into the 1930s, and you can see that we get the Betty Crocker cake mixes, we get the TV dinners starting in the 1940s and 50s, right? And then you get the Bliss Point in the late 1960s, early 1970s. They're developing all of the Bliss Point stuff. And then in the 1980s, our health crisis begins. Mm. That right there is a layout. It's a timeline of the progression of how this all happened. Okay? So this is a little bit easier to see. 1910s, you get the packaged foods. And this is going through wartime and all this kind of stuff like we talked about, the Industrial Revolution, all of it put together. By the 1950s, we get the TV dinners. The 1970s, we get the Bliss Points. And by the time we hit the 1990s, we're in the middle of a health crisis.
Yeah.
Okay? That's it. It's laid out right there for you. I have several different versions of this, okay? Packaged food, the sliced bread, the cake mix, the Bliss Point. So they figured out multiple ways to package your food, and then they made a Bliss Point to make all of that food that they now marketed to you as convenient addictive. And here we are in 2025, and we're all trying to wake up.
Yeah.
How do we wake up and how do we fight? We cook. The kitchen is your armor and your weapon. Your kitchen is your battle armor and your weapon. Hashtag cook to reclaim. I think I'm going to get off my soapbox and quit preaching. But
Okay. Good.
That is so important because it's again, I knew all of this stuff in a very nebulous way, but I never really sat and thought about the actual intentional progression or the marketing or the neuroscientists getting involved in the food companies to make the bliss point and engineer hyper palatable foods. Like, I didn't think of it intentionally in that way.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Can I add something super quick?
I would love for you to,
I want to make sure we get to the comments because there's lots of good things. Really quick, though, before I say anything. Heidi is so sweet.
Oh, Heidi, hello. Thank you so much.
$2 super chat. Heidi, that means so much.
It means so much, guys.
Seriously.
Your support, especially with things like super chats, joining the band, these kinds of things, it's how we afford to keep doing this. And we appreciate this. I love dedicating my life to this, but I cannot do it without you guys all being here, watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and share the video so we can get this out to even more people. We love and appreciate you. And Heidi, thank you so much for that because you guys don't even realize how much even $2 makes a huge difference for us.
It really does. So thank you so much, Heidi. That's so sweet.
Absolutely.
We were talking over the last couple of weeks kind of about like dopamine and screen time.
Yeah.
And as you held up that timeline, I couldn't help but think too about how essentially media also really grew and got on board with all of this.
Yes.
And so it wasn't just the food companies, but it was radio, television, ads, commercials. And then I thought about, my Nana was born in the 1930s. Even the vegetables we ate came out of a can. I mean, that's how I kind of grew up eating because that's how she grew up.
Right.
So she was totally the woman they were marketing to. But, my Nana used Crisco when you started talking about Crisco in the 1970s and all that kind of stuff. Do you know why my Nana started using only Crisco to start baking pies and cooking everything with?
She probably thought it was healthier.
No, they got influencers. One in particular was her favorite country and western singer, Loretta Lynn.
Yeah.
Loretta Lynn, who of course wrote all these songs that were for and about women, became the face of Crisco.
And
in the
Loretta
1970s.
Lynn was a mom
totally.
and a grandma, and she was a cook, and she took care of her family. And so, and of course, her not being a scientist or a doctor,
how would
not
know?
knowing any different, these companies come to her and say, hey, this is a healthier alternative, and it's great, and it works really well, and blah, blah, blah. It makes total sense.
It totally does, but I was thinking about that, and it's like, so it's the media. You could say that's the start of maybe having influencers, celebrities, endorsing products and all that.
Yep.
And then as you were talking about the 1980s, I've been to a couple museums and like different things where they really show the 1980s, like even the TV show Stranger Things.
Yeah.
If you guys watch that, they all eat TV dinners in front of the TV.
Right.
And so we went from sitting around a table as a family all together, right?
Yep.
To sitting in front of a television.
Yep.
Being kind of soaked into all of that stuff. And it just kind of, very interesting. Thank you for doing all this work today, babe.
Absolutely.
To figure all this out. I love history.
That's a really great point, though, about media. Because media is where we get so much of the marketing now. It's not really billboards and newspapers and all that stuff like it used to be. Now it's all digital media like TV and the internet and radio even and all this kind of stuff. But what are most of the commercials about? There's two things that I would say 90% of the commercials I see now are about. Food and pharma.
Yeah.
Here's the food that's going to make you happy, and then here's the drug that's going to fix the sickness it creates.
Yep, you nailed it.
That is the two things I see.
Yeah, and Carnivore Jerry in the middle of the forest is here with us, and she said this, and I think this is right on point with what we're talking about. Mrs. Brady fried a whole loaf of white bread.
Yep.
Like it was on television. It's like, well, if Mrs. Brady does it from the Brady Bunch, we all should do that.
And that's exactly what people did. They started adding this into TV shows and radios and newspapers and billboard ads and influencers, celebrities, and now it's all over the TV and the movies and like what do people do when they go to the movies? What's the very first thing you see when you walk in a movie theater past the place where you buy a ticket?
Concession stand.
Concession stand. And what is at that concession stand?
Popcorn,
Popcorn,
candy,
soda, junk. Junk.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Well, hey, we're going to get into the comments. And by the way, you guys, I wanted to just say really quick, I may get a phone call and may need to step out. So if I do randomly, please don't think I'm rude and that I don't love you. Just handling some business. But let's say hey to some folks.
Let's
you
do
ready?
it.
Let's do it. So Richard Williams.
Richard Williams. Good morning, neighbor.
We got Miss Lynn.
Hello, Lynn.
Carrie is here.
Hey, Carrie.
Carol is here.
Hello, Carol.
Auntie is here.
Hello, Auntie. How are you?
She says, good morning, all. Here to get my few minutes of live before work.
Well, I hope work goes really well, and hopefully we'll see you on the replay.
Yes. Grandma Patricia's
Hello,
here.
Grandma.
Sherry Nevada Pup.
Hi, Sherry.
Brother Barry Weems.
Brother Barry in the house.
Woo woo. Brian Flyfisher.
Hello, Brian.
Laura's here.
Hello, Lara.
Heidi says, good morning, Chris and Ash and all the band members. I'm not a band member.
If you're not a band member.
Oh, if you're not a band member, sorry. Y'all get on it. So worth it.
Yes, thank you so much, Heidi. We appreciate you being in there. By the way, guys, if you're a band member, put it in the chat. Let us know. Let everybody know, like, I'm a band member. Drop that in the chat. Tell everybody. Because we're becoming a big and powerful group, and I want people to realize that we're a team, we're working together, and that you guys are here so they can meet you, and you can encourage them to come join so we can all do this together.
Absolutely. DJ Magic Man.
What's up, man?
John Wise is here.
Hello, John.
We got Michelle from Florida.
Hi, Michelle.
22QCat says, who doesn't know who Chris is? Lynn, don't give him a big head. It's a lot of people.
You're very, very sweet. You're very sweet. You know, it's really interesting. Every now and then you have I think we all get these moments in life that just remind us to stay humble.
Yeah.
We were at a bookstore researching cookbooks because I'm writing a carnivore cookbook, right? We were researching cookbooks, and there was a couple there that was looking for carnivore cookbooks. Just randomly. They were traveling through. They're not from Tennessee. They just were traveling through, and they were there looking at cookbooks to see if they could find carnivore cookbooks. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, my name's Chris. And I was like, I don't know if you've seen my channel or not, but it's Chris Cooking Nashville. And I was sitting here thinking, like, well, if you're looking for a carnivore cookbook, there's a chance that this person has, stumbled on my channel because it's kind of what I do, right? And I was like, yeah, so it's called Chris Cooking Nashville. And they go, oh, that's cool. I'll have to look you up. And I was like, yeah, great. And I was like, it's a good reminder to always be humble because no matter how big or important any of us ever thinks we are, there's always somebody out there who's going to remind you you're not. So.
Yeah. Oh, they were the sweetest people.
Yeah, they were
awesome.
absolutely wonderful people.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it up, by the way. There's so many amazing people that are just saying, I'm a band member,
I love it.
We got so many of them.
Yes.
Amy says, I can't wait to make your jams, especially the bacon jalapeno.
Yes. It's so good.
It's amazing. Mala says, good morning.
Hello, Mala.
Erin's here with us.
Hello, Erin.
Says, good morning, kiddos. 2 crazy ketos are done, so it must be time to visit
Yeah,
Nashville.
I love it.
Janelle.
Hello,
telling everyone
Janelle.
to like and subscribe.
Yes, and thank you again for inspiring today's chat.
Oh, yes, thank you, Janelle.
Hello, John, saying bacon jalapeno jam sounds yummy. Absolutely.
It is yummy.
It was amazing. And here's the deal, guys. You don't have to use any sweeteners if you don't want in any of those jams. If you do the bacon jalapeno jam without sweetener, you could use something like a pork broth or something instead of water, and you could put that over a steak. That would be really good, like a little bacon jalapeno savory jam topping.
Dude, it's
there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with that.
It's bomb. Mia is here
Hello,
with us.
Mia's girls.
Good morning. Meat preaching, love it.
That's what I do, right?
Angie's so sweet. She says, good morning. Y'all both look and sound super good.
Thank you, Angie. We're so glad to see you.
And this is awesome. Julie is here.
Hi, Julie.
She says, hey, from Raleigh, North Carolina. It's my first time.
Awesome. Well, really glad you're here.
Yes. Erin's here.
Hello, Erin.
Terry's here.
Hello, Terry.
Good morning, meaty folks. Hope y'all are having a beefy day.
Yep. We're going to be having a beefy day. We're filming a video later, and I'm not going to tell you guys what's going to be in it, but there's going to be a lot of beef.
Yes. Lynn says packaged food lies. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Amen.
Yep. Brian says real foods don't have labels.
Yep, that's correct.
I love this username, poetically mistaken.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Sean at Back to Good says never go to the grocery store hungry, always ends up unhealthy.
Uh-huh.
Amy says, yes, this has happened to me. I've had to get really good at making lists and sticking to them for health and financial reasons.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Miss Holly Springer's here.
Hi, Holly.
We love Holly.
We do.
This is exciting.
Hi, Cheryl.
Cheryl's here. She says, good morning, tribe. I'm so excited this morning. I have broke my 8-month weight stall.
Congratulations. Rock on for that. I gotta put my coffee down because I'm still drinking my coffee today.
To do it.
Rock on, Cheryl. That's amazing.
Cheryl says, I'm feeling physically and mentally so much better these days. I'm working on improving my sleep. Good for you. Holly says, that was my entire childhood. My mom keeping sweets and cooking heavy on starchy foods. She went as far as putting me in Weight Watchers at age 10 against weight. That's crazy to have such a young kid on Weight Watchers. Wild. But it's a thing. Marty says, hello, Chris and Ash.
Hey, Marty.
Spent time with the family over the weekend. Some were actually bragging about how many meds they were on. Said to just eat Cheerios and oats to lower cholesterol.
Yeah, I know. Guys, we are fighting a huge uphill battle, and this is why we have to fight together. Because, one, there are people that I think actually get a kick out of kind of bragging about how many meds they're on. But really, I think that goes deeper to a darker place because I think really people know that's not good subconsciously somewhere deep down.
I think they need to normalize it.
They need to normalize it, and they need to make it funny so that it doesn't actually hurt them.
Amen. Hey, I want to throw this up and skip ahead. So Healthy Mama Marie Skidmore's here. Love her. She gave you a $4.99 super chat.
Thank you so much, Marie. You are so sweet. We appreciate that so much.
Says sharing with my daughter to have her kids watch. They are preteen/teenager. My grandson has a weight issue that they are addressing this summer.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And yes, please tell them if she has questions or she needs help with her kiddos with recipes that might help or any of that, please have her reach out.
Yes.
Send us a message. Come join the band if she can. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Just let us know how we can help.
Even just come join a Monday morning live stream.
Yeah, pop on a live stream.
Yeah, pop on a live stream. It's
anything,
free.
Anything. We are here for help. However we can help.
Yes. I want to get to this question from Marisa. She said, Chris, I made the 90-second bread, and I thought they came out a bit hard. Did I over-microwave?
Either a little overcooked or potentially a little bit too much of one of the powders or the gelatin. It's usually, if it comes out hard, it's usually that it's overcooking the gelatin and it's drying it up too much, or it could be that there's just a little too much of the powder. So just tweak the cooking time first, and then if it still seems real dry, even if the cooking time has been reduced, then it may be one of the powders.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. Tammy says, good morning from Florida.
Hello, Tammy.
I believe I'm saying it's Cylin V. Says, greetings from Germany.
Well, hello from Germany. You're a long way away from Nashville, but we're glad you're here.
Absolutely. Let's see here. We are getting rid of all packaged foods, including the sad family members.
Yep.
My 21-year-old is dying from them. I am slowly bringing her back to health after watching her fade away over the last 2 years.
Yes. Well, you know what? Good for you, Mama. Good for you working on it and trying to help your family. And that's the thing. I was dying from this. Ash was dying from this. Like, we have been there. And sometimes it takes some time, but encourage and maybe use some of my recipes if that helps the transition. You don't have to, but sometimes it can really help. Like having a 90-second carnivore bread with some keto jam on it
can really make a difference.
Sometimes really helpful for people when they're first trying to do this and trying to get them off the junk. So let us know how we can help, and we praying that goes well.
Yes, keep us posted. Yeah. Good for you, though.
Good for you for doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Janelle says rationing also impacted food availability.
Yep.
And Oleo, aka Fake Better, were promoted.
Yep.
Very true.
Absolutely.
Andrew Z says, you can see it if you look into older pictures and see how people looked from 1910 all the way to now. And you can literally see people getting heavier every year.
The evidence is right there. We're just not taught this.
Oh, no, we're not. We're not taught to look at it. Cindy DeManch is here.
Hello, beautiful Cindy.
We love Cindy Bryan.
Yes.
So great. Jen also says, Tang, the drink astronauts drink.
Isn't it amazing how they marketed that stuff?
Yeah. Right in front of our faces.
Think about that.
It's wild. Jeffrey Cox is here.
Hello, brother Jeff.
He says, hello, awesome people. In and out in 1 minute. We'll watch while painting tonight.
Well, appreciate that, cool. Jeff. We'll make sure to answer all of those things I'm talking about today. When you're watching the replay, in the chat or in the comments underneath the replay of the video, would love to get your take on all that too. I think Jeff's gonna like this one.
I think so.
Yeah.
Patricia Hoffman has a great point. ice boxes were small with no real freezers.
Yep, that's correct. And when people moved into the cities in the Industrial Revolution, a lot of them didn't even have ice boxes.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, even if they had ice boxes, couldn't afford ice to keep anything cold.
Oh, wow.
So packaged and prepared foods became so vital.
It's so crazy, isn't it?
Yep.
Pretty wild. Politically Mistaken brings up a good point. Apartments, I've been told, were intended as temporary housing before people could purchase a more appropriate living space.
Mm-hmm.
Terry says they also started moving less as technology grew.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
See how everything was just stacking together to create a perfect storm of terrible health?
It's almost like a domino effect.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
And then when they realized they could make money off of it, it's almost like they leaned into it.
Yeah. Cheryl's watching from Florida.
Hey, Cheryl, good to see you.
And I believe it's Lazarick Homestead says,
Hello.
OMG, LOL, I was just printing out the carnivore pancake and griddle recipes, then noticed you are on.
Yeah, those are so good.
Dude,
You're
they
gonna
are
enjoy those.
delicious.
If you have any trouble, come send me a message and I'll help you out. But I think you'd be just fine. Those are great recipes.
Absolutely. Amy says, I never gone into Swanson, but I used to think lean cuisine was the key to weight loss.
And they market it as such.
So why wouldn't you believe it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Lynn says, Betty Crocker used to be my best friend. No more Betty.
Uh-huh.
Patricia says, all the women's magazines my mother read had recipes using convenience foods.
Yes, and that's the thing. So they started marketing the convenience foods to women through things like magazines by creating recipes utilizing the pre-made packaged stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you see recipes in those old magazines where it uses Crisco? Or it uses a start with a cake mix, or start with a can of condensed soup, or that was intentional.
Yeah.
It was to sell their products.
Yeah. It's very, very true. I also remember being a little girl, and it was really popular for little girls to have easy bake ovens.
Yeah.
I mean, little easy
Yep.
bake.
Yep.
So then you're teaching the young girls,
Yep.
right, that it's
To
super
cook with
popular.
mixes.
Yeah, to cook with mixes, and it should be easy, and you make it,
Yep.
you feed it to your friends. I mean, literally brainwashing you
Yep.
from
You know
childhood.
what's interesting?
Huh.
Only in the last 100 years have humans ever thought that cooking food was a waste of time and that it should happen easily in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Only in the last 75 to 100 years have we thought that. Prior to that, all through human history, food was a massive investment of time and energy, and we knew it was worth it.
Yeah. Terry at My Terrific Life says, I remember my first TV dinner. My mom wasn't convinced that it was a good thing until she finally bought into the convenience of modern society.
And that's the thing. So many people were like, I don't know about this, but it was marketed until they started to accept it.
Yep.
It's marketing. It's money.
Janelle says, it's our own fault for liking convenience over work.
Yep. And
Yeah.
the thing is, companies knew that we did.
Yeah.
So they leaned into it.
I think back to the Garden of Eden. And if you think about that, an apple, food, is literally what caused the fall of man.
Downfall of man.
The downfall of man, which is how we got into a big mess, right?
Absolutely.
But as you go through history, they say history repeats itself, and
Yep.
it kind of sounds like the devil yet again. That serpent lied to a lot of people
Yep.
over the past 50 or so, 60 years, and
Yep.
did a lot of damage.
Absolutely.
It's pretty crazy. Holly Springer says, I believe in the book Sugar, Fat, Salt, it says Betty Crocker was designed to end home economic classes.
There you go.
Yeah, makes sense. Cindy DeManch says, as a single working mom of 2 young boys, I did what I could, got what I could afford and convenient. Feel like such a bad parent. Both my boys are not healthy, one worse than the other.
And the thing is, you're not alone in that, Cindy, but I don't think you can't hang on to, like, I was a bad parent or any of these things. And I know I'm not a parent, so I can't really necessarily say anything. But I totally understand what you're saying of I did the best I could.
But,
and you don't know what you don't know.
The other thing, though, I think, guys, that you have to be careful about this. We didn't really know all of this back in the day. Your parents and your grandparents, depending on how old you are, did not know this. and it's easy to fall for these things. And everyone here has done so. And so it's like, you can't beat yourself up for that. But now if you know the truth, well, then make up for it now.
That's
Go
right.
out and do good, eat the right way, and
That's
share
right.
that with other people. Patricia Hoffman says, have we talked about the cigarette companies buying the food companies after cigarette ads were banned on TV?
Isn't that amazing?
Freaking incredible.
And you know what nicotine does? It hits your dopamine centers. That's why it's addictive. Do you know what all of our food now does?
hits
your dopamine centers. That's why it's addictive.
That bliss point I never heard about. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you're talking about taking back and cooking and all this. I love this. Vicky is here with us. Vicky says, "Wow, your recipes are easy. Time consuming maybe sometimes. I was in an accident and struggle with debilitating chronic pain. I'm still able to make your recipes. The videos make them extra easy."
Well, thank you, Vicky. I'm very glad that those are helpful for you, and I hope that as you eat more of these kinds of things and maybe hopefully your health just continues to improve, hopefully that'll help with that chronic pain as well.
Absolutely.
We'll be praying that does for you.
Dr. Singleton is here with us.
Hello, Dr. Singleton.
Says, "Amen. Continue to speak the truth. And then after the food industry had fleeced our money, they fed us to the pharmaceutical companies, all to get more money from us."
That's right. It's a great big merry-go-round. They keep us on it and they just keep farming our money.
Yep. Claire is here.
Hello, Claire.
She says, "When I was at school in the 90s, there was maybe 2 or 3 overweight kids in the whole year group. I work in a senior school now, and it estimates at least 50% of kids are overweight now."
Yep. Absolutely.
It's
you just look at our kids and you can see it happening.
Yeah. Heidi says, "This all makes so much sense. I was born in 1967, the decade of TV dinners and simplicity for my mama. We as a family were all so excited to eat a TV dinner in front of the TV."
And you were told that was normal and that was what you should be doing. So how are we supposed to know the difference?
And she also said in a separate comment, "Who knew it was the brainwashing tactics that made my whole family sick and obese?"
That's right. And here's the deal. It happened. There's nothing we can do about it going backwards in time. But what we can do is stop it now.
Amen.
We can prevent it from going further, and we can teach everyone around us and the new people in front of us how to break away.
Absolutely.
And that is where cooking comes in. That is why cooking equals freedom.
Yes, Dr. Singleton says, "Yes, the knowledge and understanding do make a difference."
Yep, absolutely.
And I love this. Sherry Nevada put, "Chris's recipes are what got me eating meat. Still some I will never put past my lips, but now at least I am eating more."
It is a process, and you just keep going. You just keep going and doing better every day. And Sherry, I'm so glad that those are helpful for you. So we're so glad to have you, Sherry. We really are.
I love Sherry. That's my girl. Angie C says, "Yes, Chris, your recipes are a huge help when you want something like biscuits and jam. Thank you for all the work you do to help all of us. Ash, thank you for all you do too."
Yes, thank you so much, Angie, and you're very welcome.
Yes,
we just want to help.
Yes. Patricia says, "Love that. Cooking is the cure."
That's right. That's right. Cooking is the cure indeed.
Amen. Terry says, "When I travel to other countries, I can point out the Americans and Canadians. They are very obviously extremely inflamed and overweight."
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Yogi is here. Love it.
Good to see you, Yogi. Really glad you're here.
Yeah. And Rick, Charger Mopar is
hey,
here with
Rick.
us. Rick's been carnivore since, I believe, the 1980s. He's awesome. But he says, "That's why I watch these cooking videos, to be able to cook healthy versions of the duck foods people crave."
That's right. That's right. And that's the thing, guys. If you're like Rick and you can just eat meat and you don't need a recipe, that's fantastic. But the truth is, there are people out there who would never consider it. And someone like Rick can learn to cook one of those recipes, not for him, but for his friends he's trying to help.
Absolutely.
How cool is that? We can help other people.
That's what we're here for. Janelle loves that bacon jam.
I'm so glad. We really enjoyed it too.
She also says, "Teach a man to fish, teach a man to cook."
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Teach a man to fish and then teach him to cook that fish.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Brian Flyfishman Dish says, "Chris, that is why I found you. Been keto for 8 or 9 years, missing something, and you have helped."
I'm so glad, Brian.
Yes, I love this. Selin V says, "I love your recipes. I don't make them very often, but to have them as an option keeps me on track."
Yeah, and to be honest with you guys, I don't make my recipes very often either. It's just when we're filming videos or the occasion that there's something special. I don't do them every day, but they're great when you just need that option last minute.
Oh, absolutely. Angie Z says, "Off topic, your new tattoos look great."
Oh, thank you so much.
Sweet. Thank you. Yes, thumbs up for new tattoos.
That's right.
There it is.
Guys, a little better view of mine right there. So
yes.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Appreciate that. Let me see here. I'm gonna scroll down. Janelle says Loretta Lynn always fried her chicken in Crisco.
Yep, absolutely.
Damn straight she did. Carnivore Jerry says, "Cook to Reclaim. This is the name of your new cookbook? If not, it should be." Maybe that's the second cookbook.
That's right. Maybe that's the next one.
Or the third. I don't know. I feel like Chris is going to have like 50 cookbooks one day. I love it. Sherry says, Monday morning is here for Chris to be on a soapbox.
It certainly is today.
That's what it is. Crow says, great talk.
Thanks, Crow.
Sandra says, my family, friends, and coworkers all think I'm crazy doing carnivore way of eating.
And a lot of people do, and that's why we just have to keep putting this information out there and teaching people why we're not crazy.
But that's kind of why I love that you gave this history lesson.
Yeah.
You're literally fighting against decades and decades and decades of people being told lies.
Right.
So of course they're going to think you're crazy.
Yep.
And Sandra, just be like Chris and I, because we were already crazy, and then we started this way of eating, and now we're really crazy.
Yep.
This is also though why I think we like do live streams like this, or
Yep.
recipe videos, or we have our private community, the band.
Yep.
Because that way, if people like your family and friends do think you're crazy, you can come be with like-minded folks who will love and encourage you and support you where you're at. So
That's right.
I totally get it though. Trust me, we've heard a lot of.
Oh yeah.
We hear a lot of things over the years.
I have been told so many times that I'm going to die.
Yeah, by friends, family.
I've actually had some people online wish for me to die because they don't like the fact that I promote eating so much meat.
Yeah.
So,
Not everyone loves us, guys.
Yeah.
And we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Aaron has a great question. I like this. How do you feel about coffee during BB&E?
Aaron, I think this sort of comes down to what is important to you. I think it's a good thing at some point in time for everyone to do like a really strict meat, salt, water carnivore with no coffee, and then slowly introduce things back in as an elimination diet. Now, whether you need to stay there or not, that's really something you have to discover for yourself. So if you're doing BBBE because you're trying to just limit your food down to the very minimal things and you choose to include some coffee in that, like, that's cool. That's up to you. If you're saying, I want to do BBBE because I'm trying to really suss out what's going on with this thing that I can't seem to fix, then I would say it's probably best to cut out the coffee, because if you don't know if maybe you're not seeing the results you want, if maybe the coffee was the issue or something about the coffee, like cream or something else is the issue. So it depends on why you're doing BBBE. Like some days I eat BBBE just naturally. I still include coffee because I'm not doing it to eliminate anything for like any specific N=1 experiment. I'm just doing it because that's how I feel best. And for me, coffee doesn't seem to cause an issue. I've done it without it, and I've done it with it, and I don't really notice any difference. So it's just a thing you kind of have to figure out why you're doing the BBBE and if that would be better suited to give you results if you did not have the coffee. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great question.
It is a great question. I love it.
Yep.
Let me see here. So that was a good one. And this is interesting. So Marie Skidmore says, my daughter's family of 4 went to Subway as a treat. She was appalled that it was $80.
Yep.
She explained to the kids how much real food they could buy.
You can eat steak and lobster with a family of 4 for $80 when you cook at home.
Yep, it's true. But but that's the thing. I think they've also raised the price of convenience. Even going to like McDonald's or something.
Yep.
I mean, everything has just gotten so expensive. And literally you're hungry a few hours later. There's nothing satiating.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a bunch of carbs that come along with it. So it spikes your insulin. Then you crash, and then it kicks your hormones into totally being out of whack, and then you're hungry again.
It is true. Tammy is watching on Facebook. She says, you're correct, and supporting local farmers at the farmer's market is ideal.
It's a great way to do it.
Preach it.
Good to see you, Tammy.
Yep. Brian Flyfishman Dish says, my grandfather was a baker, and he only used butter and lard, and got very upset when everything started getting preservative added to everything he used.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the real guys that made that stuff for a living, when they started seeing this happen back in the day, they knew this was not good.
Absolutely. Janelle brings up the point, LOL, grocery shopping takes less time when you don't go up and down all the aisles.
That's right.
It's very true.
Yeah, save your time at the grocery store instead of at the kitchen.
Exactly. Claire also says, I have half a leg of lamb in the oven and I cannot wait to stuff my face. We'll post when it's done on Insta, and I always post on my TikTok anyway.
I love it. I love it, Claire. Looking forward to seeing it.
Hashtag cook to reclaim. Check it out. Heidi says, I love posting my cooking. It's either my meals or I post scriptures.
I love that. That's most of what I post too.
I like it. Yeah. So lots of people are just saying like what they're doing. Cheryl's going to do some chicken thighs.
I love it.
Terry says, I have a ribeye slathered in bacon fat with some seasoning, some boiled eggs for egg salad, and some pork belly already smoked. That's my meal today.
That sounds amazing.
So that's awesome. Well, yeah, post your pictures.
Yeah, you guys
and
post
tag
it.
Chris.
Hashtag Cook to Reclaim, and tag me to let me know so I can go like it, support it, and do the whole thing.
Oh, no, I love it. Let's see here. Sorry, I got a little behind in the comments.
I've been preaching too much.
Well, it's good though. It's good. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything important.
Yeah.
Hey, while I'm trying to get caught up, do you want to tell folks about the live stream you're doing tomorrow with your special guest?
Yes. So we're doing a live stream tomorrow that is going to be private in the private group, in the band, and it's going to be a fantastic discussion with the beautiful Coach Alyssa from Dr. Barry's private community.
Yay.
And I believe she's also going to be streaming it to one of her locations as well. I think that may be in the Dr. Barry group. I'll have to double check with her. But but it's going to be a private live stream, and we're going to be talking about really interesting stuff about this whole thing of like saving lives. And quite honestly, we're going to talk about some of the dogmatic anger that has really risen up in the keto and carnivore world, and how we all need to be better than that. We need to stand against that because we're trying to help people, and it's a little bit of a training session on how we need to change our minds and our perspective so that we can help people. Because if we're doing all of this and then we're just using it as a way to judge everybody else, and we watch the world burn while we live a healthy lifestyle, then what was the point of doing it? So it's going to be a really good conversation, and I'm really excited to sit down with Alyssa and see what she has to say, because she, very much like us, is out there fighting this battle of trying to figure out how we help people and how we stand against the anger and the hatred of people who seek only to use keto and carnivore as a way to elevate themselves above someone else.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, there is no thing in all of human history that should give one human a right to do that to another, ever.
Agreed.
And certainly not the food you choose to eat, or how skinny you are, or any of that crap. So we don't tolerate that, and we're not going to support that. So we're going to stand against it. We're going to speak out about it, and we're going to do a live stream for our private members to help them, again, feel supported in this journey, and all of us be warriors together to go out and just make a huge change.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yep, it's going to be really good.
Speaking of the band, because I know that's going to be a great thing.
Yep.
Let me go down here and find this. Here it is. We just got a new band member.
Ah, well, love it.
Woo woo! Marie's in the band with us.
I love it. Well,
join the band.
Yes, thank you so much for joining, Marie.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Terry at My Terrific Life said, "I like a copy of this."
Yes.
Yeah, same. Preaching it. And Janelle says, "Love your soapbox topic."
Oh, thank you, Janelle.
Angie Z says, "I'm a band member, loving all the support in the band. Thank you all so much for being there."
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are just bringing up great points, about like school lunches is another thing.
Yeah.
And saying how they've changed over the years and all of that. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
And Elizabeth is here.
Hi, Elizabeth.
She says, "Good morning. I'm so glad to see you guys on. I don't know how much I've missed, but I live in Indiana."
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, Elizabeth, we're really glad you're here, and go back and watch the replay if you didn't get to see all of our topic today, because this was a good one and a powerful one, and it's a really important lesson of history information that will really help you just stay committed to living a proper human diet lifestyle.
Yeah. Nolene Clark is here from Ireland.
Hello.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
So cool to have you here. I actually know some folks over in Ireland. That's a long way from Nashville. We'd love to visit over there someday.
Yes, definitely. And I absolutely adore this comment. So Selin B says, "I don't know why it took so long for me to see, but what you just said made me realize that I should not be sad or angry when I can't have the cake or chips. I'm going to be proud treating my body well."
Absolutely. And that's why I do things like keto recipes and carnivore recipes for things like cakes and chips and all that stuff, because if you want to use those things to celebrate, but you also want to treat your body well, you can have both. And it's not maybe the most clean version of it, but if it helps you continue doing this and feel good about it, then it's a great tool to use. So
yeah,
it's a really great point that you made. I'm really glad you said that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Chili
Harder. What's going on, my friend?
Says hi from Denmark to all you lovely people.
Good to see you.
Says I love the topic today. It is so important.
It really, really is. It really is. A lot of people don't know this, And what is it the Bible says? My people perish for lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. True.
Here we are.
True. Sandra says, I have my online community that keeps me strong. The majority of those who think I'm crazy are unhealthy. I am determined to stick to the carnivore way of eating.
Absolutely. And Sandra, you're doing great. You're doing
awesome.
Great, Sandra, and we're here for you.
Yeah. Tammy says, oh, shoot me now, Chris and Ash, if I have to cut out coffee. But I understand the concept. You just had a light bulb go off in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tammy, here's the thing you do. So we talked about the dopamine detox thing, right? Work your way towards it. Try it for 30 days if you can, right? And then add the coffee back in without changing anything else. Add the coffee back in, and you'll know if it's causing a problem or not. And if it's causing a problem, then, you have to decide what to do with that. But there's only one way to know. And the coffee is its own sort of thing compared to things like BBBE or strict carnivore or any of these other things, right? So, we've done it, and it wasn't fun. But we did it, we made it through it, and we added coffee back in. And the only thing that happened when I added coffee back in was I got some more joy in my life.
Amen.
It's the only thing that changed. So that's why I still drink it.
I love this. Hang in Laundry.
That's a great name.
That's what I'm doing after this live stream.
That's right.
Great thing. It says, tuned in late, fasting, and we'll be trying Chris's bread recipe this evening.
I love that. Now, which bread recipe are you trying? If you're doing the 90-second bread, make sure you have whey concentrate instead of isolate. If you have isolate, you're probably going to have to cut the amount of it in about a half.
Yeah.
Because isolate is not the same thing as concentrate, but I have been told it can work. If you're doing my full white loaf of bread, lean a little heavy on the egg white powders when you do it the first time, because if it sinks and it kind of is squishy, it means you didn't have enough egg white powder. If it's styrofoam, it means you had too much egg white powder. So you want to find the balance in between, but for doing it the first time, it's easier to lean a little heavy on it, and then you can kind of adjust it from there. But that way it still usually turns out, and it's... spread some mayo or something on it, and even if it's a little dry, it's not too bad, but then you can just play with it from there, and you'll learn how to do it. But if you struggle with it the first time on either of them, don't feel bad. You have no idea how many times I failed at them before I got them figured out. So, yeah. But we're here to help. If you have questions, you let me know.
Absolutely. Emily says, amazing live concept.
Thank you so much, Emily. We appreciate you.
Yes. And I love this from Carrie Younts. Carrie says, everyone dies, but not everyone really lives.
Very true.
Very, very,
very true. And we're here to try to help people take their life back so they can live.
Mm-hmm. And Vicky says, yes, so many of the FB carnivore groups are rude.
Yep.
Encourage people, even if it's not strict carnivore.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to do better, but there will always be the trolls.
Yep. And that's why I'm not active in any kinds of Facebook groups like that and all of that, because I actually put a post up in the band talking about this. I went into another creator's private community, and I'm not going to say who it was because it doesn't matter, and they themselves are not this way. But it was another creator's private community, and you could join for free, and I just thought, well, I'll just go be supportive. So I went in there, and there was a section for keto and carnivore recipes. And so I posted a picture, and you didn't even have to post recipes per se, it was just kind of a discussion section. Mm-hmm. So I posted a picture of the carnivore bagels before it came out. Right? Just saying, hey, this is coming soon. And you would not believe, now I'm brand new in this group, and I did not put my name in there as Chris Cooking Nashville or anything, so even if they watch my channel or know who I am, they would have no idea it was me unless they looked real closely at my profile picture.
You're just Chris. You're just a guy.
I was just Chris. I was just a guy. And I put it in there talking about how I was excited about this and all this kind of stuff, and I got reamed by people because there were some capers on this cream cheese and salmon bagel, and they didn't take the time to realize it was a carnivore bagel, and how is a bagel carnivore, and they made me feel like I was a complete and total idiot for doing this, and how stupid this was, and this isn't, they literally went on the attack, and I said to several people, is this how you welcome new members to your group? And finally I ended up just deleting it, because I literally got no positive reaction. And it made me filled with righteous anger because I think people seeking help joining a group should never be treated that way when they're brand new. But on top of it, it broke my heart because it made me think about how many people are out there searching for hope, and this is the treatment they're receiving. And they're not Chris Cooking Nashville with 100,000 plus subscribers behind them just supporting what they do. They're on their own a lot of times. They don't have a community supporting them like I do. So when I do this kind of stuff and I'm excited about it and then someone acts that way, I go, you're an idiot, shut up, right? But there are people who are truly needing help. And they go out there and they try to share what they're doing because they're excited about it. And they get crucified for it.
Yeah.
Man, it makes me angry. Because I see people that are broken and struggling and suffering and dying, and assholes that think they're better than everybody else because they eat meat, salt, and water come up and kick these people while they're down.
Yep.
Ah, man, I would love to be able to just stop that. Those are the people I'm trying to reach, these lost and broken people who are trying to figure out how to do this, who need help. They need people to reach out to them. They need support. I used to be that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why we do what we do, because those people are out there. And even creators who are doing really cool things, they can't monitor every single comment that happens in their groups all the time. Even their group, where people should be welcomed when they're seeking help, there are people in there that will ridicule and tear those people down. We have got to do everything we can to be louder than those kinds of people. We need to be out there speaking up for people who need help.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do.
I think you can either focus on the rude trolls, or you can kind of just go ignore them and then just go be the change that you would like to see in the world and or the community.
Yep, and that's why we ask you
doing.
guys to be warriors here with us. We are trying to go out there and just be louder than the trolls. And just give people places they can go where they feel supported so they can change their lives.
Absolutely. And Hanging Laundry said it's the 90-second bread.
Gotcha.
So ingredients showing up today.
Perfect. So when you do the first one, if it comes out and it's a little too dry, you can reduce your cooking time a little bit, and you can reduce the powder a little bit. And if it's a little too squishy, you can increase the cook time just a little bit, and you can increase the powders just a little bit. So I hope you enjoy that. That's one of my favorite recipes I've ever created.
Yes, definitely. Tammy said, I'll start cutting back. I drink about 3 cups of coffee a day. Maybe I'll cut back to 1.5 cups. I'm always a work in progress, guys. Thank you for the input.
I think a really great thing would be, if you're doing 3 cups a day, do 2 cups a day for a week or two. Then do 1 cup, 2 cups a day, and then do 1 cup a day. And then maybe do just like a small little 1/2 cup if you can, and then cut it out. Work your way down that way so that you don't go like just cold turkey the first day and end up with a bunch of headaches or anything. And then just, see how you feel. Do it for a while, add it back in, see if it changes. Just do your N=1 experiment. You can totally do it. I believe in you.
Absolutely. So a couple people are talking about your butter mayo.
Yeah.
And how good it is, and, all this stuff. And Brian says, it's not great. It's the best. Thank you, Brian.
Appreciate that, Brian.
That's good. Here's a question I know a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Patricia wants to know, Chris, where can I get that cool flamethrower that you use to toast your bagels?
So I have an Amazon link. I believe I think I put it in the description box of that video.
So.
If I didn't, though, feel free to send me a message on social media or an email, and I'll send you a link to it. It's no problem.
Yeah, all good. This is awesome. Jackie is here.
Hi, Jackie.
She says, watching but not able to chat much because I'm cooking. I'm making a giant batch of CCN waffles for my aggressively non-keto son for his 18th birthday.
I love it.
The whole family on the wide PhD spectrum loves
I love that. But see, this is what I'm saying, guys. My non-keto son for his 18th birthday can have a lower carb version of things because you can make the CCN waffles. You just improved his health a little bit.
Yes. And
it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Amen. And Patricia says, we are all a work in progress.
Yep.
Amen.
Here's basically, I think I've really come to this realization. Here's how life works. You're born, you're a work in progress until one day you don't wake up.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That is it. That's how it works.
That's it. Well, hun, I think we're caught up on the comments and all. I know
Excellent.
we've been here for a little over an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
This has been great. Thank you again for all the work that you put into researching and studying all this.
Yeah, this is an important topic, and understanding where this comes from, why this works this way, I just think is a really important thing. And we just are trying to help as many people as we can, and hopefully by giving you guys this kind of information, it helps you just have more resolve as to why a proper human diet is so important, why cooking is the answer to this, and why you don't have to believe all the marketing and all the BS that's out there. You know, empower yourself to believe that this is the right thing. So.
Oh, and I'm so sorry. Do you have time
okay.
for one more?
Yeah,
this
of course.
Just popped up, and I just thought this was actually really good. So Laura is here. Says, maybe a silly question. Is the fat rendered from pork belly as good to use as bacon fat? We aren't doing nitrates anymore.
Yeah, totally fine. It's the same thing. So the only difference between rendered fat out of pork belly versus bacon is that bacon has been cured with salt and sometimes nitrates. Dr. Barry actually has a really good video talking about why nitrates and nitrites are not bad for you. But there are some people who, again, N equals 1, and Lara is one of them, who do the N equals 1 experiment where they remove all of the nitrates and see if that, helps you. Nitrates are not bad for you. They're not a problem. Dr. Barry gives all of the science of why. But for some select group of people, maybe the nitrates don't make them feel good. And maybe that's a thing that you really want to try. So if you want to try things with no nitrates and you want to go with just pork belly and then you want to use that rendered fat, it's the exact same thing as bacon fat. It just doesn't have any of the salt cure or the nitrates left over in it. That's the only difference. So it's a good question.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And really quick, you're talking about being not dogmatic.
Yeah.
Sharon Nevada Pup says, being mostly vegetarian, I would have expected that when I first started following you. But I got the opposite. And now I eat more meat.
And that right there is exactly why we do what we do. Because whether you are vegan, vegetarian, keto, carnivore, low carb, paleo, I don't care what you are. You can be a fruitarian. If you are respectful and you're cool about it all, you are always welcome here. And I'm not going to condone something that I think will harm you. But I will never judge you and treat you as less for not doing it the way that I do it. And we are all on a journey trying to figure out how to be healthier together. But together is the only way it works. And if you beat people up, there is no together in that.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't do that. So, Sherry, we love you. And even if you eat mostly veggies, I'm just glad that we can help you be a little bit more meat heavy.
I totally agree. Also, if I may just add, carnivore, vegetarian, keto, it's not your identity.
That's right.
Just want to love the person, not their diet. Like if you do you, but yeah, very
your
interesting.
creator gives you an identity, not your diet.
Nope. So
there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
And she said, "Thanks, Chris Nash, for all your time and knowledge you share."
Yeah, you're very welcome. We're just here trying to help you guys. We just we love all of you. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to let you go today. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, post your pictures of those meals, talk about it, let people know, tag me on social media so that I can come see it and I can comment and tell you that I'm there supporting you. We love seeing that stuff. Remember, hashtag cook to... What was it? Reclaim.
Cook to reclaim.
Sorry, brain fart. Cook to reclaim. Hashtag cook to reclaim. Put that on those social media pictures and tag me so that we can support you guys, so that we can show people what we are doing and why, and start the conversation of why cooking is how we take back freedom. Remember, our freedom was taken away under the guise of giving us freedom through convenience. And what did they do? They used and abused it and killed our ability to be healthy for their own profit. We start cooking to take back our freedom. That is how we break those bonds. So we're going to cook to reclaim. Hashtag cook to reclaim. Post all of that. Guys, come join the band. The link is down in the description box. We'd love to have you over there, especially if you want to be a part of that private live stream tomorrow with Coach Alyssa, and we have a whole bunch more of those coming in the future. We would love to be able to do that with you guys. So come be a part of the band. We'd love to see you in there. In the meantime, we just love and appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live, and share things like this interesting history lesson. And by the way, don't forget to go to ashtaylor.com and go follow Ash on her YouTube channel, because we've been in the studio working on new music. She has a brand new podcast. All kinds of stuff coming, so you guys got to make sure to check that out. It's a lot of cool stuff. So, guys, we love every single one of you. Thank you for being here. This is Chris Cook in Nashville, the beautiful Ash Taylor, my lovely wife over here, who just makes everything possible.
Oh, very sweet, very sweet.
Guys, thank you for being here. Eat your meat, especially when you're the one cooking it to reclaim your freedom. Love your life. We'll see you in the studio here for a bunch more history lessons and interesting things about food, and in the kitchen for recipes, and we'll catch you guys next time. Go cook and take back your freedom. We love every single one of you guys. We'll see you later and have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.